There are some countries out there with so much wealth that they literally shape the world we live in. They have immense influence, all driven by their economic power. But who are these giants really? So let's dive in and break down the top 5 richest countries on the planet based on our source material.
Okay, so first things first. When we talk about a country's wealth, what are we actually measuring? Is it about all the assets a nation owns, the income of every person, maybe property they own in other countries? Well, all those things matter for sure, but to make a list like this, analysts need one big, powerful number to compare everyone.
And that big number is the gross domestic product, or GDP. The easiest way to think about it is like a country's annual report card. It adds up the total value of everything. Every car, every coffee, every bit of software produced inside a country's borders over a year. And for this explainer, GDP is the magic number we're going to be looking at.
All right, now that we've got the rules of the game sorted, it is time for the main event. We're going to count down from number 5 all the way to the single wealthiest nation in the world. Let's do this. Kicking off our list at number 5, we have the United Kingdom. Now, this is a nation whose wealth today is, well, you can't really talk about it without looking back at its long history as a global empire. For a country of its size, its economic footprint has been absolutely massive for centuries. The UK's economy clocks in with a GDP of $3.12 trillion. I mean, that's a huge number that puts it squarely among the world's economic elite. So where is all that wealth coming from these days?
Well, the modern British economy is a pretty complex machine. London is still one of the biggest financial hubs on the planet. The country is also a major player in the global arms trade, and it's home to a whole lot of billionaires. And underpinning all of this is a very well-educated and skilled population.
But, to really get the full picture of this wealth, our source material brings up a pretty critical point about its past. It claims that a huge chunk of this wealth is tied to its colonial history, specifically stating that an estimated $45 trillion in assets were transferred from India over almost 200 years.
All right, moving up the list to number 4, we've got Germany. And Germany's story is just incredible, really. It's all about resilience and innovation, rising from complete devastation to become a true economic giant. I mean, just think about it. After World War II, the country's economy was in ruins. And from that, Germany completely rebuilt itself to become the undisputed economic engine of Europe. What was once a divided and weakened nation is now unified, prosperous, and a leader in global exports. It's a pretty amazing turnaround. And today, Germany has a GDP of $3.69 trillion. That cements its spot at number 4 and makes it, by far, the most powerful economy in all of Europe. So what's the secret to Germany's success? Its strength really comes from a powerful industrial and manufacturing base. We're talking high-quality cars, complex machinery, you name it. That's what makes it one of the world's top exporters. And it's all built on a cultural foundation that puts a huge value on education and precision engineering. Cracking the top 3, we land in Japan. And when you think of Japan, your mind probably goes to one thing right away: technology. This is a nation that has built its massive wealth on a bedrock of cutting-edge innovation. Japan's GDP officially crosses that $5 trillion line, coming in at $5.06 trillion. That really puts them in a whole different league, a super exclusive club of economic superpowers. So how did they do it? Well, the source material kind of lays out this 4-step formula. First, become a leader in developing and exporting high-tech products. Second, invest like crazy in education to create an incredibly skilled workforce. We're talking a nearly 100% literacy rate. Third, become a key player in global economic groups like the G7. And fourth, become the world's biggest creditor nation, basically exporting money and capital all over the globe. All right, coming in at number 2 is the country that has, without a doubt, the most explosive economic story of our lifetime. Of course, I'm talking about China, the undisputed rising challenger for that number 1 spot. Now get ready for this number. China's GDP is a jaw-dropping $13.41 trillion. Yeah, that is a massive jump from Japan at number 3. China isn't just playing in the big leagues anymore, it's in a league of its own with number 1. To put that growth into perspective, it's just mind-blowing. If you go back to the year 2000, China's entire GDP was about $1.2 trillion. In just 2 decades, it grew an incredible 17 times over. It's no wonder our source points to experts who are predicting it could actually overtake the #1 spot as soon as 2028. So you can see just how huge China's economy is right there on the chart. But there is still a pretty big gap to close. So who is it? Who holds that top spot that China is chasing so hard? And here it is. The #1 richest country on the planet is the United States, the long-reigning dominant economic and military superpower. The U.S. economy is just in a class of its own, with a GDP of $21.43 trillion. That's a lead of roughly $8 trillion over second-place China. I mean, that is just a monumental amount of money. So what keeps the U.S. in that #1 spot? According to our source material, it boils down to a few key things. It's home to the world's biggest companies, Google, Amazon, Microsoft. It has the world's largest military, it's the biggest arms trader, and it has more billionaires than any other country on Earth. But the source also offers a bit of a warning. It suggests that this long-held dominance might be weakening. It points to what it calls show-off policies and the massive spending required to maintain a global military presence as things that could be draining its economic strength and potentially opening the door for a challenger. So let's recap the whole list real quick. At #5, we have the United Kingdom, built on finance and history. #4 is Germany, the industrial heart of Europe. #3, Japan, the tech innovator. #2 is China, the absolute engine of manufacturing and growth. And holding the top spot, for now, is the United States, defined by its corporate and military power. So while the current order is pretty clear, the trends are just impossible to ignore. With China's incredible rise and all the other shifts happening around the world, the real question isn't who's on top today. It's, will this list look anything like this a decade from now? What do you think?